Hey folks, this is Ing. I am coming to you on a very hot, lazy, muggy August day, so this is my first blog post in my underwear, but I'll leave the shirt on to spare you. So, I recently discovered and played this game called Gone Home. And it struck me, it's not a shoot 'em up game, it's not a fantasy RPG with a huge world, it's not a puzzle game, in many ways, it's an interactive story, even though there are game elements to it as well. And it's kind of like, I think of it as the equivalent of reading a good short story, because the game is pretty short, it's easy to play, but has these great characters, and it has these almost subtle or quiet revelations. The short story that Sam writes for her reproductive anatomy assignment fucking blew my mind. I mean, I was just sitting there going, this is amazing, as I was reading that. All the letters and the journal entries and the postcards and things, they give us these revelations from a very private sphere, domestic point of view, which is amazing and really, really wonderful. That a game could actually explore aspects like that, because that's not what we all, usually think of a game as being. The zine in the game, it's like here, and I remember back in the 90s, I was about the age of the main characters of the two girls in the 90s, and I contributed to zines like that. I mean, there's so much great retro stuff in here that comes out that reminds me of that time period. But seeing that zine, for me, I first saw the zine in the context of this little hidden room. And it was like, oh, the girls are coming together, hidden away from the world to create this wonderful zine, but then to send it back out into a public sphere where other kids like them can read it and experience that same sense of creative rebelliousness. And then you wander into the dining room and you see that same zine in the context of the dining room table, and you just go, oh shit, the parents found it, the school found it. Those are the kinds of quiet revelations that make this game amazing. And a lot of them, they do have to do with interactions between the public and private sphere. And it's interesting because we see the domestic end of it in this game. Yeah, there's an outside world, but once in a while through the windows you glimpse vague shapes. You're not always sure what they are. You get this sense of the storm, which I love that metaphor, because there's a storm going on outside. And yeah, there's a storm warning on the TV, but it's like the storm, that's what's going on outside. It reflects what's going on in the home, but it reminds us that there's a larger sphere outside of the home. But it's not something that plays directly into the story. I did a video a while ago, and you don't have to watch it to watch this video, on one of the issues in LGBT plus contemporary arts, which is that it used to be more about, when you saw films or stories or other media about LGBT plus persons, it used to be more about their identity and their experience as LGBT plus. It used to be about them as a person who was, lesbian or ace or pan or transgender or gender fluid or whatever it might be, as part of the LGBTQIA plus continuum. And as time has gone by, you can also now have stories that happen to just be about LGBT plus characters, somebody who happens to be lesbian or gender fluid or ace or whatever, but it doesn't have to be about their identity. So I think a sort of a parallel movement that's gone on, and also not just parallel, but also been entwined with this idea of stories not having to be about LGBT plus characters' identity or experiences LGBT plus, is the interaction between public and private sphere. And on the public end, we have, things like Stonewall or Pride events. I remember going to my first Pride event and coming from a small town with a lot of haters, where there were either overt or implicit anti-LGBT plus messages in, my school, the church I was forced to go to, my home, my community in general. And it was really hard to find a safe space. Once in a while you could go, it's like the equivalent of the hidden rooms in the house, where Lonnie and Sam meet. It's like you could find people sometimes that were also LGBT plus, or that were just understanding people that you could be yourself around, but it wasn't in the general public sphere. You had to find private moments, private spaces for that to happen. And my first Pride event, it was like, wow, people are dressed how they want to dress. They are, they're loving who they want to love. They're experiencing expressing affection for people that they want to. That was an amazing revelation, and that was a lot of people coming together. I mean, yeah, there were fundamentalist Christian protesters off to the side, but for once they were off to the side. They weren't the main, their points of view weren't the main focus, and that was amazing. That was really awesome. But I think Gone Home reminds us that there's another, into that continuum of the public-private sphere continuum, and it's taking place in this house with postcards and letters and more domestic interactions and these subtle revelations, which are still revelatory, still amazing. We also, and it's not just the lesbian relationship between Sam and Lonnie in the Allegra stories and about Allegra and her first mate. We also have in the Amazon story gender fluidity or possibly trans themes as well. So that's also really amazing. And I think fortunately too, we have this ending that is hopeful. And I think, for mom and dad, there's a possibility of hopefulness, but I really feel like for Sam and Lonnie, there's this hope. And it involves them going back out from this private sphere, this home where they have discovered and shared their love, out into the public and going out, driving or out, going out, driving for Sam to pick up Lonnie in her car. And that to me is amazing. It's reminding us that there is a public sphere out there, even if we don't directly experience it in this game. And that's another amazing aspect of Gone Home. If you haven't played it, go play it. It's awesome. And if you know it and you have any comments about it, please let me know. You can comment here. You can reach me, ing@ingventing. You can direct message me. And I also, and please like, share, and subscribe as well as commenting. Also wanted to say, I have a project coming up where I've gotten a few people together, amazing, insightful, intelligent folks, to have a conversation that we're going to film about the Batman mythos, the Batman universe, or I guess I could say universes. There are probably going to be people talking about the animated films, the real life films, various series, games, material culture, all kinds of Batman stuff. If you have suggestions for the Batman project, please let me know. If you have something that you want us to try to cover, let me know. I'm so looking forward to posting that here. And everyone, have an amazing day.